Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, August 7th, 2023. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice that last week we got the pullback week that we were looking for. Heading into the week and heading into the new month, we were looking for price to pull back into the pivot range, perhaps as low as the midpoint of the pivot range, and then we were looking for signs of rejection that could take us back up to previous highs or perhaps through those highs for another rotation higher within the existing uptrending framework. That's what we're looking for here. We did get the pullback. Really, it was one day here, Monday, Tuesday, very quiet, a big Wednesday move, Thursday quiet, and then Friday back and forth. Heavy late day selling pressure from the highs of the day, and a mere 2 hours later we're on the lows of the day, outside day down. So big time bearish finish on Friday. What does that mean moving forward here into this week? One thing we'll want to watch right away: how does price respond to the previous month's midpoint? How does price respond to the previous session's midpoint? If price can close above this previous session's midpoint, it could open up a trap of late participants here, and we could be looking at a squeeze back up the range. But really, bulls need above 45.60. If price can push through 45.60, that'll open up a potential return back toward the previous week's high, which is all the way up here at 46.2175. So again, can price push through this midpoint here at some point today and finish through there? If so, it could open up a bounce back week within this range. Keep in mind, after recent strength here, if we're not going to go higher, perhaps we end up forming an expanding range up here that keeps prices in check. So in expanding range, you typically look to fade the new high or new low. In this case, a new low back to a new high. Once we get that, you look for another swing push back down as this thing continues to develop at these highs. So right now, watching the previous session's midpoint here, that's 45.27 quarter for signs of failure or a continuation. If price can't get through that zone and we start to see weakness after this morning strength, that could open up a drop into that 44.12 as the next key level, and perhaps even lower. All right, let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ right now showing similar price action to the ES. Very bullish price action overall, but in the previous week, we obviously seen weakness here. Wednesday, big down. Friday, failed new high late in the day. Again, a big time final couple of hours of selling pressure here. And overall, downtrending price action, failed new high in a downtrend would suggest more weakness ahead. If you're a bear, any morning strength here into this midpoint could be defended for a continuation to the previous month's low price. Again, if bulls are able to close price through the previous session's midpoint, above it, that could open up a big time trap here in a reverse back toward the previous week's highs here, up in the 15,889 zone. So again, watching to see how the market responds here early in the day to the previous session's mid. Let's take a look here at crude oil. Crude oil, big time strength. Big time strength here. This was a huge bounce back day. That was a massive recovery of the previous session's low. A huge thrust reversal pattern, which we covered here in PivotBoss Masters last week. If you missed PivotBoss Masters, tremendous week of live sessions there where we looked at the new thrust reversal and thrust reversal live signals. If you're part of Masters, you can hit that Masters dashboard and watch the replays of last week's sessions. If you're not part of Masters, you can check it out at pivotbossmasters.com/profits. All right, taking a look here, big time 2-day range at these highs after a squeeze up. We mentioned before, 83.52 is the next level up, and the market really hasn't been beyond that excuse me, beyond that level in quite a while. 83.52 right here, you can see this is the last time price dropped below that level and has not come back above it. So it's been a while here. It's been since about mid to early November. We've been below that level coming into it here. Did we need a higher high failure? Very similar to last time. It looks like perhaps so, and if we fail at this edge, we could be looking at a drop back to the recent pivot lows, but also back across the range, 74 all the way down could be ahead. So how much of a reaction do we see at this edge? And if we do see a big reaction, how much of a pullback do we get? Right away, 77 could be ahead, but 74 is the middle of the range. So it could be quite the swing pullback if we see a big time reaction up here. Obviously, this market remains super bullish at the moment, but 83.52 continues to be a major roadblock for this chart. We'll continue to watch this area for potential reversals up ahead. If we take a look here at gold futures now, gold down about almost 0.2% here. This thing right now holding in a narrow range inside day at the moment. Today's range 60% of average heading into the RTH Open, trading in the upper half of Friday's range. Now this is interesting here. One thing we mentioned before was the uptrending channel here is almost an expanding range, or is an expanding range, and that means an increasing envelope of volatility. And on this widest pullback here with a great reaction at the lower edge, we could be looking at a squeeze that takes us up toward 2040. That's what we mentioned last week. 2040 could be up ahead, and if price can continue to hold above 1960, it opens the door to that 2040 up ahead. So we did get that reaction on Friday of the 1960s. Now we're trying to hold that midpoint. If this is day one rejection low, look to buy the dips here. Morning weakness could be an opportunity for bulls to defend. Failed new lows for a continuation back toward the previous month's close, 2004, into the previous high, and into that 2040 up ahead. So watching for a continuation into that upper zone. Lastly, taking a look here at the YM. You'll see right now the YM looks very similar to the ES and the NQ, but the placement of the pullback is different. While the other two are down here below the previous month's midpoint, this market is still sitting above the pivot point for the month, still in the uptrend here overall. You can see again, higher value relationship, pulls back into the pivot range, bounces, pulls back into the pivot range, watching for signs of rejection and a potential bounce. Again, the midpoint is going to be very important here. This is a huge failed new high in a down move. Big rejection back here, failure here, big drop there, failed new high here, and right now we're still below the midpoint of the previous session's rejection day. So this early strength could be sold, and we could be looking at an extension down into the midpoint from last month, 34,815, perhaps even lower into the previous month's low. So this pullback right here, very important. Bulls need to push through this previous session's midpoint and close beyond it, and that'll open up some strength up ahead. So can bulls do that? It's been done before. That's how this market has moved higher at times, is by pushing through the midpoint there of these bearish rejections and moving things to new highs. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move forward. That is it for now. We'll see how this develops here heading into the rest of the session and the new week of trading. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.